Okay, welcome once again to our Q&A series. This is on the most frequently asked questions that I get. I'm using some crude props here, but I'm hoping that it will let you understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at this ride. Okay, when I'm referring to ride, I am referring to the area from just ahead of the pivot point to down to the bottom of that backwards J and up this side. That will be called the ride for all practical purposes. Then from here forward, we're going to call this all the way to the tip. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble drawing a straight line. This will be considered the home line. Now, I know everybody just calls the whole thing the ride, but for this discussion, we're going to cut it into two sections. Right here will be the cut on the sections. The part back here, the ride, actually directs the rest of the blade on where to go. So you want to be very careful not to remove too much metal behind the pivot point. If that's done, you've created yourself a problem. When you look at a pair of shears, from the jewelry back is what directs the way the blades go. Now we're going to move over to one of my crude props. I lay them together. I've got the pivot point. I'm going to put a piece of paper behind it, hoping you can see how this works. Now, if I take this same prop and I come over, we're going to call this my water stone, but I'm going to use sandpaper to remove metal behind the pivot point. And you see, I didn't remove a lot. Now, when I put these back together and I pinch them at the pivot point, they no longer touch. This pair of shears would now not cut. That's why it's very critical not to remove too much from the ride area of the shear. This can happen several different ways. One of the biggest ways, you're not putting enough down pressure on the shear when it's on your water stone. I'll bring a water stone over. You need to make sure your water stone is level on top. If you have a ceramic stone, you're gonna keep it level. It has to be leveled, but it won't need done quite as often as if you have a natural water stone. They need to be done very frequently. You wet the surface. Now, when I put this on here, I've got the whole shear on. I need enough pressure here to make sure I'm making contact the entire way. If I don't put enough down pressure here, I will be riding on the back and right at the tip, and the rest won't be touching the stone. That will cause it to not have enough metal here, and they will separate the same way the popsicle sticks did. So what you need to do, I've found that on certain shears it takes up to 14 pounds of pressure. Most shears are in that 9-10 pound range. Get yourself a scale, push down on it, find out how much 10 pound, 14 pound is. Make sure you get those shears pushed flat. As long as you're not putting pressure back on the ride, you can't put too much pressure. You're not going to push the shear through the stone. So I'd rather see a little extra pressure than not enough. If you start to see those tips being washed out, which means the hone line will come down and it will actually turn around the tip. If you're seeing it come around that tip, that means you're not putting enough down pressure on the shear. Now, I'd like you to subscribe to our channel, and hopefully this has been helpful.